So Curtis Yarvin is out with his latest blog post, A New Sovereign Accounting. While I do not believe that Mr. Yarvin has any direct influence on the president himself, he definitely has influence on the tech oligarchy and on J.D. Vance, as well as a number of other key individuals who serve in the executive branch. In this latest post, Yarvin argues that we need to restructure the United States financially. In other words, declare national bankruptcy. And this is interesting timing because I've come across some articles recently that have suggested or implied that this might be something that the president is thinking about. I don't know whether or not this is true. However, in the business realm, he does have a history of declaring bankruptcy in order to reset the game. A national bankruptcy would mean the U.S. defaulting on its debt, which obviously would have an enormous impact on the global market and our relationships with other countries. The domestic fallout would be significant as well, with impact to Social Security payments, military pay, Medicare payouts, a spike in the interest rates, stock market collapse, recession or depression, job losses, and a significant credit downgrade. If we were talking about any other president, I would say that something like this is outside the realm of possibility. However, this president and this entire administration is entirely unpredictable. Most of the people in it are incompetent, so even the craziest possibilities are not off the table. So Mr. Yarvin argues that the United States is not actually a capitalist economy. He calls our economy an American boomer finance economy and says that the level of restructuring which is required is so significant that it can only be compared to the fall of Marxist-Leninist central planning. He says the division between the Treasury and the Fed is irrelevant and needs to be eliminated. This, too, would be in line with some of Trump's obvious thinking. He does not like the fact that he has no ability to control the Fed. He does not support any form of checks and balances on the executive branch. Yarvin proposes 3 sovereign accounting rules. First, that the government owns the country and all assets. Second, that the fiat currency is government equity. Third, that securities are all formal rather than informal. One of the key reforms he sees being required is fixing dollars, in other words, establishing boundaries around the dollar supply, which he admits would be an extreme and difficult change. The rest of the blog post is behind a paywall, and I refuse to give that man a single cent of my money. But I just wanted to provide some insight into what he's thinking, because there has been a curious alignment between Yarvin's writings over the last several years and what we're actually seeing play out in this current administration. I think that has more to do with the people who are speaking into the president's ear than with the president himself. I'm not sure that the president even knows who Yarvin is, but obviously a number of people who are close to the president are very close to Yarvin. And for that reason, I think it's important to keep up to date on what Yarvin is talking about.